I've worked with Times of India.
Oh,
You're a journalist
journalist.
Now I'm working for the city administration.
in the public relations.
Yeah.
Stakeholder management.
Oh, very good.
You're sitting like, like
I
that.
know.
Why we should be quite at ease, yeah.
Jai Hind, Namaskar, good morning. Welcome to Aurangabad. On behalf of the Office of the Honorable District Collector of Aurangabad, the City Administration of Aurangabad, the Government of Maharashtra and the Government of India, it is a distinct pleasure and privilege having been joined by Dr. Sandhya Purecha, Chair of W20 for India's G20 presidency here in India. Thank you, Dr. Purecha, for honoring us with your presence today. We are also joined by Dharitri Patnaik ji, who is the Chief Coordinator for W20's Secretariat at FICCI here in India. And welcome, Dharitri ji, to Aurangabad. And thank you for gracing us at this wonderful morning here in Aurangabad. Dr. Purecha is an individual that needs no introduction. She is a Sangeet Natak Academy awardee. Ma'am has a lifelong of service to the art and science of Natya Shastra. She's an exponent, a Bharatnatyam guru, has been recognized for her work globally, nationally, and by the state of Maharashtra. Most importantly, her work in Angika Abhinaya is something that is a treatise for scholars across the world in terms of Natya Shastra. Ma'am also has the distinction of translating for the first time Bharata's Natya Shastra in Marathi and Gujarati. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us here today. And most importantly, today, leading the largest group of women in the world with W20. Dharitri ji is again somebody who's had vast experience, 26 plus years in development, especially focused on women empowerment, child development, and working for the underprivileged. Ma'am, you have worked in international development with agencies such as the UNICEF, Action Aid International, Care USA, and UN Women. And your work has been truly transformational, and we are hoping with your presidency, with India's presidency, and you being as the chief coordinator, India will and the world will see a great amount of development when it comes to women issues. Dr. Purecha, Indian philosophy is not something that looks at gender alone when it comes to women.
I agree with, right, absolutely. In Sanskrit, they say Nari Mata Asti, Nari Bhagini Asti, Nari Kanya Asti, Nari Asya Samajasya Kushal Vastukar Asti. Vastukar, it means the architect, Adarsh Shilpakar. So for us, from the Vedic times, it's like Nari is Pujaniya, Nari is the one who is the Karta and Dharta of everything. I also remember one saint said about this Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Only Stri, only the women who is complete and gives birth to complete, and still after giving birth to complete remains complete. So what is that? This is our sanskaras, and this is we women are. So in Indian society, women are on a par level of the goddess. They are Shakti Rupena Samsthita. They are known as a Shakti, and they are the powerful entity and Pujaniya in the Indian community. So I feel for us, gender device and all, maybe after Vedic times or after Upanishad time, what the time changed and the other factors introduced here in India, little bit changed Strees or women's, and then these issues which we are facing it today needs to be discussed. Otherwise, women were really on a very high plinth in our philosophy and also our life.
So thank you so much for that enlightenment, and we look forward to your continuous guidance and support, and congratulations first of all for initiating such a powerful campaign in India, and from the 2015 where Women 20 was conceived for the first time.
Yeah, you know that in Bhagavad Gita, if you
Yes.
say, it is known as a Kaunteya, Radheya, or from the name of the Kunti, the Kaunteya it was. So it was the one full, the tradition of using the name of a woman for the child was prevalent.
Right.
So Arjun was known as a Kaunteya, the Parth. So I think it is the whole tradition which women empowered. They were so much empowered
Right.
that the child was known through his her mother's name.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
so-
right. So we are what you say, the flag bearers or the pioneers of the Indian community, the
Absolutely.
Indian culture, and we definitely have a strong side when we are talking about leading the world in women policy, in women empowerment. And so from that perspective, we do have the power, we do have a legacy. What do you think is needed in today's world? What do you think is needed today?
I think our dear Prime Minister ji has very simple word. The G20's logo itself is telling Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There is the whole world is your community, it's your family. Once that feel comes in every human being, I think the half of the tension is all over with
Right.
that, because every woman will think that she is my sister, she's my daughter, she is my.
True.
Every man will think she is my sister.
True.
So then that relation, I mean, such a beautiful
Respect and
concept
love,
is taken
yes.
for the G20 logo.
Right.
And in the same manner, when we in W20 also we have come out with a very beautiful logo, Nari Vishwasya Nirmatri,
Yes.
Nari Vishwasya Sanskartri, Nari Vishwasya Rakshitri, Nari Moolam Hi Vishwasya. So
Okay.
Nari, the one who is the creator of the world.
Yes.
Nari is the one who is giving the sanskara, sanskriti, or the virtues to
Right.
the next generation. Nari means the women are the one who is a protector also, and Nari is the base of everything.
Right,
So
true.
that's how. So I feel that this is the biggest message we are giving into the world.
Right.
That Nari is powerful, and we should be all together.
True, true, true. So my question to you would be, now with this, starting from this narrative, starting from what we own, what we inherited, how do we plan to propagate it to the world, the representatives from the different nationalities, and to ensure that the things, that the gold, that the treasure that we have is it is reached to everybody.
Yeah, so W20 has got its own 5 priority areas, where like grassroots women leadership, then we have got women entrepreneurships, bridging the gender digital divide, and also creating pathways through the education and skill development, and lastly the climate change. So all these 5 major priority areas will be concentrated on as a discussion point.
Dharitriji is currently Chief Coordinator for W20 India. Ma'am, your vast experience in international development. What was the philosophy behind the vision and mission that W20 has in India's presidency? Could you kindly throw some light on that?
Thank you so much. I would start with showing my appreciation for the warmth and hospitality of Aurangabad. Thank you so much, Aurangabad. And thank you to the district administration and the government of Maharashtra for the warm welcome Sandhya ji and I have received here. My first time in Aurangabad, beautiful city. So just to go back to W20, and as Arpita mentioned, it was in 2013 in the Brisbane G20 meeting, it was decided that we need to come up with a mission to address women's economic issues. And how do we do it? That we need to first bridge the gap in the labor force. As we all know that women labor force participation is very, very low all over the world, and it's primarily due to many factors. And so it was decided, how do we address these issues? So bridge this gap by 2025. So then in 2015 in Turkey, W20 was formally established during the Turkish presidency. And over the years, all our W20 presidencies have been deliberating on different issues that women face, especially economically, because our issues are anyway correlated. The economic issues are correlated with the social and political issues as well, or cultural issues. And so the vision this year also is a vision that has transcended from other countries' presidencies. So when we say that we want a society where women are equal, where we want equity and equality, I mean, that's the ultimate we require, right? And like we've heard Dr. Sandhya Purecha speak about the status of women during Vedic times and the status of women now. And what we went through all these years, we all know the challenges, we know the issues. And while we address the issues, we came up with this vision that our vision would be to make a world where women live with dignity, and dignity comes with equal, providing equal platform, an enabling ecosystem, and of course giving all the rights that women need to prosper and thrive. So that is where our vision came from, and our mission was to definitely do away with the barriers and the challenges women face with women-led development. And Sandhya ji very nicely said it in Sanskrit that women are architects, which is what women-led development is, and what our Honorable Prime Minister is talking about when he means women-led development, not women development.
Exactly.
Women-led
Women-led,
development is where women are the architects and active participants of their own development, not passive recipients. So it all falls into place where we are changing the narrative of what we mean by transformation. And so that is where we want to be. And like you asked, what is the vision? Vision is also related to changing the narrative and also showcasing what India's women have achieved in the last 75 years since our independence. The stories of success and transformation.
And also the government support. How many policies and how many rules and regulations, agendas have come, so many to support women, So that is, we want to showcase that India is not that the women are crying and fighting. They are really getting help from government, from state, from the NGOs, from the every part of women is helping women. I mean, so that's the main agenda we want to carry forward to the countries, different countries. Yeah.
As you mentioned, Mr. Prime Minister's vision, that it's about women-led development. So from where you're talking about Brisbane, where it was conceived from the perspective of bridging the gap, but we've evolved to the level where we're talking about women-led development. And so it's not just women-led development of women, but in general, like what you said, the topics on which we would be working, like climate change for that matter. So women can be the torch bearers.
I wanted to give you a very good example of climate change. I went to Jammu, and very young, I think 26-year-old girl, she came and said, I'm working on climate change. And she took me to her studio, and the paints, she has made the paints from the mud and the flower colors, and that is eco-friendly. She has made the whole her office only eco-friendly. I mean, say, this is climate change. This is what we are looking at, how climate change the youngsters are aware of, and youngsters are working on it, and the women are working on it.
So even to add on to what Sandhya ji said, our whole agenda, why we've taken up climate change as one of our priority areas is it's often not considered that women and girls are impacted by climate change.
Yeah.
So to come up with proper recommendations, document success stories or best practices, and to also have call to action. You know, just coming up with policy recommendations is not what W20 wants to do. We want to also showcase what are the best practices, what kind of different action plans or actions one can take to combat these issues. So that's also one of the things we are looking at. How do women and girls act or become change agents or advocates of climate change and have more climate resilient action plans?
I think India is a great representation as a nation. Today, the Honorable President of India is a woman.
Also women.
Is
yes,
a woman.
yes.
And Ajanta and Ellora are excellent examples of creating pigments
Absolutely.
from natural, resources for painting. I think we have that, as you rightly pointed out, in our ethos, ingrained in our very DNA. The idea of Vasudev Kutumbakam, even Indian philosophy refers to the earth as a mother.
Absolutely.
And
Yes, yes.
we refer to our nation as Matrabhumi.
Yes.
So this is very, very different from the Western thought and idea of a nation. And I think that is unique. We also have a great responsibility, as the chair would rightly acknowledge that we Indian women represent the largest population group of women anywhere in the world. And we've managed to show the world what a dedicated ecosystem, enabling ecosystem, whether it's from the government, society in general, can allow women to do. So raising women, and I think President Murmu is an excellent example of coming from a tribal background.
Family, yes.
And rising to the highest constitutional position in India. I think it's a celebration of 75 years of India's independence and how far we have come on that. But having said that, the challenges remain. And we see challenges especially in the global south. India itself resides in a neighborhood where we have nations that we share borders. Right across we see where women are today subjected to inhuman conditions and are not able to fully realize their potential. Forget about realizing their potential, but in India's immediate neighborhood, we are seeing today geopolitically that there is a world order, there is a form of government that is not even questioning women on their survival. So Dr. Sandhya, I would like to hear from you on that.
I think it is the leadership which really makes difference, and we are very honored and we are very privileged that we have got Narendra Modi ji as our Prime Minister, who has given us the respect to the women, all the opportunities to the women, and also all the policies for the women. So that is the difference I feel in our nation, and it is the main leadership which really makes difference.
Yeah, Dharitri ji, please.
So I would add to what she said. Also, this is a very unique G20 situation where the Troika, as it's known, is the power, or the presidency is moving from one developing nation to the other. So from Indonesia to India to Brazil. So we have a very good opportunity to kind of change what's happening in the, like you mentioned about geopolitical issues, and of course change the status of women everywhere in our global south. And we also in W20 have the support of our sisters in the north, in the developed nations, who are as passionate and dedicated and committed to the issues of women all over India. So we see ourselves as a global platform and don't usually see us as only representing the global south, although yes, it's a very good opportunity for the Troika to voice their issues, the challenges, and come up with policies that are more relevant to the global south. But at the same time, we have the support of our sisters or from everywhere. So it makes us powerful, because the power comes when everyone is united, not the north and the south, or the challenges of the geopolitical situation, because we also do face those geopolitical issues, but I think we've overcome them, because what binds us all together is the cause and the passion for addressing the cause of women.
And from that, what you said about forming policies. So we've seen Women 20, the group in itself, has been working a lot, and then this is the time where it needs a policy. This is a time where it needs some decisions to be taken, and so this can be, like you said, a world platform, a stage, and the world is watching us right now. How do you think, and what kind of work is happening on the formation of policy, or introducing those policies?
So I would again go back to what our Honorable Prime Minister has said, that this G20 presidency would be inclusive, action-oriented, decisive and ambitious. And that's what W20 is also following. And because we want to be very inclusive, and policies, recommendations not to be written by a few academic scholars, but the voice of everyone. So we've come up with a huge public outreach program all over India, not leaving every strata of the society, every walk, every woman we've also segregated. If you've seen, we've just not considered, we are not considering women as a homogeneous entity, because you might have different issues, or I might have different issues from a woman, tribal woman living in one of the tribal remote villages. So it would be unfair for me to be her voice, while we can have her voice. And that's what we're trying to do, having the voices of women from every nook and corner of India reflected, and recommendations would reflect the voice of every Indian woman that would be formulated or go as policy recommendations.
I think very rightly the campaign, Delhi said we live.
They live
Yes,
it.
yes.
I think many congratulations to W20.
So in 1 month we covered, I think, seven states.
7 states.
1 month.
Yeah,
1 month.
and
yeah. So-
thousands of women, from informal workers to domestic workers to women living in slums to SHGs
Tribal
and
women's also.
tribal women and adolescent girls, school going, college, everywhere. So we've been, and also I would like to acknowledge the power of youth and the youth, the support of youth of India we've got for W20. In fact, our secretariat is run by a group, youth think tank called Geostrata, and by 90% are women, young women, college going, and it's incredible. I'm getting goosebumps, talking about the power of the youth, because that's what India needs today, transformation and progress. And as a very young nation, we have that window of opportunity. We have our youth with us, and we can just be this superpower, the #1 country in the world.
One last question to you, ma'am. It's not even a question. What would be your message to a woman, a young girl who's in India, maybe today, maybe in a village or in a town or in a metropolitan city? What would be your message on how she will feel involved in this kind of revolution in the making?
So I have to say that Swami Vivekanand ji, again I'll come to that point. He said, उठो, खड़े रहो, दौड़ो, तब तक दौड़ो जब तक आपका गोल प्राप्त न हो. So this is where we want to become a Vishwa Guru, and we are talking about when Vishwa Guru with the youth, especially women who were the real power of India, now has to be again a power of India to become a Vishwa Guru, and that's the message that get up, stand up is the message. I feel it.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr. Purecha. Thank you, Daritri ji, for joining us this morning. Despite short notice, it is wonderful to see that the W20 is going to be historic in India's presidency. It is indeed historic under India's presidency, and it is definitely going to be a people's G20.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Namaste.
On behalf of the District Administration of Aurangabad, the City Administration of Aurangabad, and the Government of Maharashtra and the Government of India, thank you so much for joining us today.